Imagine living in a world where the strongest person always wins. If someone takes your food, you cannot call the police. There are no police. There are no courts. You must fight for yourself. This was the ancient world. It was dangerous and very chaotic. But humans wanted a better way. They wanted peace, safety, and fairness. They wanted to protect the weak from the strong. So they created rules. They built systems of right and wrong. This is the amazing story of human struggle. This is the history of law and justice. From the very beginning, human beings lived together. We are social animals. We like to live in groups. But living in a group is hard. People disagree. People fight. People want the same things. Because of this, every human society needs rules. A society is a large group of people who live together in an organized way. To keep the society organized, humans invented law. A law is a strict rule made by a government or leader. It tells people what they can and cannot do. Without laws, there is no order. A long time ago, humans lived in small tribes. A tribe is a group of families who live and travel together. In these small tribes, the rules were simple. The oldest or strongest person was the leader. The leader made all the decisions. If someone stole food, the leader punished them. There were no written rules. The rules lived only in the leader's mind. But time passed. Tribes grew larger. They became villages. Then villages became big cities. Suddenly, one leader could not remember all the rules. The people needed something new. About 4,000 years ago, a man named Hammurabi lived in Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia was an ancient region in the Middle East. Hammurabi was a powerful king. He wanted his big kingdom to be fair and peaceful, so he did something very important. He ordered his workers to carve laws into a giant black stone. This is known as the Code of Hammurabi. A code is a large collection of written laws. Because the laws were carved in stone, the king could not change his mind every day. Everyone could see the rules. This was a huge step forward for human rights. Hammurabi's code was famous for one main idea. This idea was an eye for an eye. This meant the punishment must match the crime. A punishment is a penalty for doing something wrong. A crime is an illegal action. For example, if a man broke another man's arm, the law said his own arm must be broken. Today, this sounds very cruel and violent, but in the ancient world, it was actually a good thing. It stopped people from getting too much revenge. It created limits. It was the beginning of justice. Justice means treating people in a fair and right way. While Hammurabi ruled in the Middle East, another great society grew in Africa. This was ancient Egypt. The Egyptians had a different way of thinking about the law. They believed in a concept called Ma'at. Ma'at means truth, balance, and order. The king of Egypt was called a pharaoh. The pharaoh had a very big job. He had to protect Ma'at. The Egyptians believed that if the pharaoh was unfair, the gods would be angry. The weather would turn bad, and crops would die. So the law was not just for the people. The law was the glue that kept the universe together. In many ancient nations, law and religion were the same thing. People believed that gods gave the rules to humans. A famous example is the Ten Commandments. A commandment is a very strict rule from God. According to history, a leader named Moses gave these rules to the ancient Israelites. These rules were very simple, but very strong. They said, "Do not steal," and "do not murder." These religious rules became the foundation for many modern legal systems. A foundation is a solid base that holds something up. Years later, a new idea was born in ancient Greece. The city of Athens tried a completely different experiment. The people of Athens were tired of kings making all the rules. They wanted regular citizens to have a voice. They invented democracy. This is called democracy. Democracy is a system where the people hold the power to choose their leaders and make the rules. In Athens, large groups of men gathered to vote on the laws. They also created juries. A jury is a group of regular people who listen to a court case and decide if someone is guilty. It was a messy system, but it changed the world forever. The Greeks had a great idea, but the Romans took law to a new level. The Romans built a massive empire. An empire is a large group of countries ruled by one powerful leader. To control so many different people, the Romans needed a strong, organized system. They wrote their laws on 12 bronze tablets. This was called the 12 Tables. The Romans created the idea of civil law. Civil law is a system of written rules to solve problems between ordinary citizens. It helped with things like marriage, buying land, and business. Roman law was so strong that many countries still use its ideas today. But nothing lasts forever. The Roman Empire became weak, and finally it collapsed. To collapse means to fall down completely and suddenly. When Rome fell, Europe lost its strong courts and judges. The world entered a time called the Dark Ages. It was a time of fear and war. Without written laws, people went back to old, dangerous ways. To decide if someone was guilty, they used a trial by ordeal. A trial is a formal meeting in a court to decide if someone committed a crime. An ordeal is a very painful or difficult experience. In a trial by ordeal, a person had to hold burning hot iron or stay underwater. People believed that God would protect the innocent. If you survived the pain, you were innocent. If you died, you were guilty. It was a dark time for justice. Slowly, order returned to Europe. In England, a famous leader named King Henry II wanted a better system. He hated the chaotic trials by ordeal, so he sent smart judges to travel across the country. These judges listened to local problems. When a judge made a good decision, other judges copied it. This created a system called common law. Common law is a legal system based on the past decisions of judges. It relies on a concept called precedent. A precedent is a past action or decision that is used as an example for the future. This system helped England become strong and fair. However, a strong system only works if the leader is good. Many years later, England got a very bad king. His name was King John. King John was a tyrant. A tyrant is a cruel and unfair ruler who has total power over his people. He started expensive wars. When he lost the wars, he forced the people to pay very high taxes. If a citizen could not pay, King John threw them in prison without a trial. He took their land. He took their money. The people of England were furious. They decided to rebel. To rebel means to fight back against a powerful leader or government. The powerful men of England, called barons, captured the city of London. They forced King John to meet them in a field in the year 1215. They brought a very important piece of paper. This paper was called the Magna Carta, or the Great Charter. A charter is a formal document that gives rights to the people. The barons put a sword to the king's throat. They forced him to sign the document. The Magna Carta changed history forever. It created a beautiful new rule. No one is above the law. Even the king must follow the rules. This was a massive victory for human fairness. Hundreds of years passed. In the 1700s, Europe entered a new era called the Enlightenment. This was a time when philosophers and smart thinkers questioned everything. For centuries, kings told the people, "God chose me to rule you, so my word is the law." But the thinkers of the Enlightenment disagreed. They introduced the idea of natural rights. Natural rights are basic freedoms that every single human is born with. Famous writers like John Locke said that every person has a right to life, liberty, and property. Liberty means freedom. If a government tries to take these rights away, the people have the right to change the government. These powerful new ideas caused explosions across the world. They led directly to the American Revolution and the French Revolution. A revolution is a sudden and forceful change of government by the people. The French people destroyed their old kings and queens. But after the revolution, France was very messy. There were hundreds of different, confusing laws. A famous general named Napoleon Bonaparte took control. He wanted to fix the mess. He created the Napoleonic Code. This was a set of clear, simple laws written in plain language. Napoleon said that the law must be easy to read so that every citizen can understand it. His armies marched across Europe, and they brought this clear system of justice with them to many new nations. In the 1800s, the world changed again. This was the start of the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution was a time when machines replaced hand tools and massive factories were built. Suddenly, millions of people moved to big cities to work, but life was very hard. Factories were dark and dangerous. Children worked 14 hours a day. At first, the law only protected the rich factory owners. It did not protect the poor workers. This is called exploitation. Exploitation is treating someone unfairly in order to benefit from their work. Slowly, the workers fought back. They went on strike. They stopped working and demanded safety rules, weekends off, and fair pay. The law had to grow to protect the working class. The 20th century brought new technology, but it also brought terrible violence. The world fought two massive global wars. During World War II, evil leaders committed terrible crimes against humanity. A terrible crime in war is called an atrocity. An atrocity is an extremely cruel and shocking act of violence. Millions of innocent people were killed simply because of their religion or race. When the war ended, the world was horrified. Leaders realized a frightening truth. If a bad leader creates legal rules to kill people, then national law is not enough. The world needed a higher law. Because of this dark history, countries from all over the globe joined together. They formed a new group called the United Nations. In 1948, under the guidance of a woman named Eleanor Roosevelt, they wrote a beautiful document. It was called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The word universal means something that belongs to everyone, everywhere in the world. This document stated clearly that human rights do not come from a king. They do not come from a government. You have rights simply because you are a human being. No law can ever take your basic humanity away. Writing a beautiful law on a piece of paper is easy. Making it real is much harder. In many places, the laws were still deeply unfair. In America, for example, there was a system called segregation. Segregation is the act of keeping different groups of people apart based on their race. Black Americans could not go to the same schools or eat in the same restaurants as white Americans. Brave leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., stood up to fight this injustice. They protested peacefully. They marched in the streets. They proved that sometimes citizens must bravely break an unfair, bad law to create a good, fair law. Today, the story of law continues. We face completely new challenges that ancient kings could never imagine. We live in a digital world. We shop, talk, and live on the Internet. But the Internet has no borders. This creates a new problem called cybercrime. Cybercrime is illegal activity done using computers and the Internet. If a thief in one country uses a computer to steal money from a person in another country, which police force do we call? Which judge decides the case? Our modern legal systems are working very hard right now to solve these new mysteries. From the ancient tribal leaders to the modern digital courts, the journey has been long. Law is not just a boring, dusty book of rules. It is a living, breathing story. It changes as human beings change. It is the story of people trying to balance total freedom with peace and safety. We make mistakes. Sometimes the law fails. but generation after generation, we always try to build a fairer, safer world. The history of law teaches us a beautiful lesson about human resilience. Resilience is the ability to stay strong and keep trying after something very bad happens. We started in a chaotic world where only the strong survived, but humans are smart and compassionate. Through thousands of years of struggle, we built systems to protect the weak. We built courts to replace swords. True justice is a never-ending journey. As long as we have hope, we will keep fighting for what is right.